Hello and welcome to another episode of Worst Collection Ever. This is the show where we tell you about the worst comic book collection in existence.
What?
Sorry. I just had a text message and I threw off my groove.
Oh.
It happens to belong to us. I'm Jen.
I'm Sean.
Sorry. My sister just texted me. I was like, wait, what?
Happy birthday.
And I just totally forgot what I was doing.
Happy birthday, Kathy.
Happy birthday, Kathy.
So,
another quarantine birthday. Me too. Woohoo.
Oh, man, I get to celebrate mine next month, or this month.
This month, you'll probably be a quarantine birthday too.
Quarantine boy.
Yep.
Yeah, no, we're going to get through another major holiday.
Yep.
We're all going to be stuck indoors, and you should be staying indoors.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Staying around your property.
Stay around your property.
A balcony, a deck, and outside. You can go there.
Yeah, don't
driveway.
Just don't get around a bunch of motherfuckers.
Yeah, no.
That's what we're just asking. You can do shit.
Sure.
Yeah, if you live in an area that has stores open, which I don't want to talk too much about it.
Okay.
But I feel like everybody's like, I can't do this, I can't do that. And it's like,
I must sit in an Applebee's.
It's like, no, you could still do the important
you can't
things.
sit in Applebee's.
But who gives a shit?
But I mean, it's not like you can't go grocery shopping. It's not like you can't go. I mean, at least here, you can still go to like Lowe's or Home Depot and stuff because let's say your toilet breaks. Mm-hmm. You got to get a part. Like, that's an essential thing if you've got leaking and whatever. So that shit's still open. It has been the whole time, at least for us here.
Yeah, it wasn't the day that we're recording this, because we're recording this maybe like a little bit later than we normally
May 1st.
would. May 1st. Tomorrow would, or kind of is still, Free Comic Book Day.
I think it was supposed to be. I feel like they postponed it. I know Independent Record Store Day or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
They postponed that till August, maybe.
Mm.
So it's very possible Free Comic Book Day has also postponed it.
Yeah, because
I'm not going to free.
Yeah,
I mean, the last couple of Free Comic Book Days that we've gone to have been just a mess.
Any Free Comic Book Day. I mean, unless if you live in like a smaller town, but then again, if you only have one comic book store in that smaller area, then that's where everybody's gonna go.
I mean,
it just anywhere is just packed.
Yeah, because I know we used to hit a couple of shops, not for the free comics. Like, I'd only pick up free comics to like one place, but because a lot of them had deals.
Yeah.
But every time you went, there was like, I remember going by the Bug because we went to Jeffrey's.
Yeah.
And the parking lot was packed, so you're standing in line, like with just so many other people. And then we would drive by the Bug on the way home, which was also just a huge line, like wrapping around, and neither store's big inside. So I mean, you were just wall to wall people.
Yeah, no, it's a big deal, and especially in a place like California where there's just a million people. Yeah, just doing everything at once. Yeah, and even out here in Denver, like it's hectic. Yeah. So but please stay indoors if you can.
Just stay safe.
Stay safe. Stay safe. Yes,
practice social distancing. Wear a mask.
Well, we did film another video. We got to.
Yeah, we will do it this weekend. I mean, we're gonna be doing a lot of yard work this weekend, so we're gonna see how it goes. However, I did get some new additions to my collection, so I will be able to share those. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like I'm kind of glad we waited. We got a lot of things to get to. Mm-hmm. Most notably comic books, but I did want to bring up some movies we watched because we are in quarantines, so we are watching movies. We watched together Flight of the Navigator. I have not, and I watched that so many times when I was a kid.
That's a movie
I hadn't seen it in a long time.
I feel like you have to kind of be like our age.
Yep.
To really have appreciated it. Yeah. Like I feel like it's only that, because the movie came out when we were 6. And then it was out, you watch on the Disney Channel like a year later, or whatever. And, they showed on, was it Magical World Disney? Yeah. I think that was definitely a case, so it was a very much of its time, just the vibes and stuff like that. But, it was fun to revisit it. Yeah. And it just was a very nostalgic movie. It's one of those movies too, that I feel not a lot of people, you remember it fondly, but it wasn't a bigger movie. Yeah. It's not like a Goonies. Goonies was everybody's like, oh man, the Goonies. Granted, it's an ensemble cast. I mean, Flight of the Navigator is just basically a kid and Paul Rubin as a spaceship. So,
yes.
Rubin, which I didn't realize that was Paul Rubens.
Yes, it is.
I did not realize Paul Rubens was doing the voice for that, but but he was in there, and the kid that plays the navigator, I think his name is David. That kid went on to go to jail multiple times.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy. Sean was telling, I was like, whoa, I wonder what happened to that guy. He's like, oh, he got arrested for bank robbery.
Yeah, no, he's a Canadian kid.
Yeah,
he was a Canadian guy. I think his name was Joey Kramer or something like that. But with like a C, not a K, like the drummer from Aerosmith. But yeah, he had some hard times after the Navigators. But the thing about that movie too, in watching it, I didn't realize how much of that movie, like the first like at least half hour of it, is like this missing child government cover up thing.
Yeah, I totally forgot it was such a huge part of it. And I forgot that for some reason in my head it was backward. Like he went on the thing and then he came back.
Well, right. So basically the premise.
No. But I mean, like in the movie, like he finds the ship and then he goes on it and then he comes back and it's like 8 years later. That's how I remember it, even though that's not how the story in the movie is told.
Right. Yeah. It was basically the premise of the movie is some kid in 1978 falls down a fucking hill and then he wakes up and it's 8 years later. Everybody thinks he's nuts. And then Sarah Jessica Parker. Sarah Michelle Parker. I conflated two Sarahs.
Yeah, you did. You put them together. They're now one.
Sarah Jessica Parker.
That's what the Rona has done to them.
It is.
Instead of making them sick, it just made them one person.
So the Rona is Bawana beasting actresses, which you know what? Not a bad power. You know, if I could be, can I Bawana beast with like Drew McIntyre or The Rock? Could somebody Bawana beast be with? I mean, he doesn't have to agree to it. I mean, I don't care if he agrees with it or not.
So would it just be like your head on The Rock's body, or like how is that going to work?
We would have similar parts. But we'd also maybe have shared memories.
Parts.
I'm trying to think how that would work.
Do you really like? What if there's like really upsetting memories that you don't want the Rock? I mean, would you want the Rock?
I have nothing to hide.
Do you want the Rock to be able to get into your head?
You ain't get find nothing stupid.
Okay.
I haven't had he's had way more fucked up experiences in his life than I have.
Sure.
I think just by being by nature of being a pro wrestler and being a major Hollywood person. I mean, I'm using it as an example. I probably would ultimately regret it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, even though I'm talking about like the physical, the Rock's physical form.
Oh yeah.
You know, but I don't know, because I don't know exactly how. I'd have to maybe really hammer down this Bawanabeast thing.
Yeah, you gotta. How does that exactly work?
Yeah, I gotta figure it out. But so, anyways, Sarah Jessica Parker bails this kid out of NASA because they're like, hey, you know, you must be some space kid, so we're gonna like trap you in NASA. And Sarah Jessica Parker is like an orderly there, or some like concierge or whatever the fuck she is.
She like works.
Works in the hospitality wing of NASA.
She like works in the mailroom and hangs out with the mail robot.
Yeah, and she bails, but she feels sorry for this kid, and she bails him out. And so then he gets called to this ship that happened just to be found at the same time that he returned, and he was just found after 8 years or whatever, and he ends up on this ship and he's zipping around, and he's not really doing much of anything except evading NASA.
Yeah.
And then eventually he's like, well, I want to go back home. And then, Paul Rubens is like, yeah, well, you're a human and you're going to suck ass at going back in time. Because, that's something I also forgot about that movie too. It's like, yeah, humans aren't meant to go back in time.
Yeah. He's all like, oh, your body's so fragile. You're going to get totally fucked. And
we're just a bunch of balloon meats.
Yeah. But it's like,
The Rock might be able to handle it, but not us.
The movie actually starts in 1978. And then he falls down a ravine. And then when he thinks he crawls out of the ravine and he goes home, it's 8 years later.
Uh-huh.
So he has no idea what happened. So then like his brother, who's supposed to be like his little brother.
Oh, that's right.
Is now like 16, played by like a 45-year-old man. Like, I'm just like, wait, you're supposed to be a what now?
I'm a teenager. Hello.
Yeah, it's a weird movie, and I'd totally forgotten about it.
And there's a few aliens in there too.
There are some aliens, yes.
It's an interesting watch.
Yeah,
it's one of those things too, where if you were a 6-7-year-old kid watching this movie, it would blow your mind.
Oh my god,
because
it totally blew
my mind.
It's very
shiny. It's very much like a thing where you're like, man, I wish I had a ship like that.
Yeah.
Like I would love to have that sort of a ring, like a thing. It just looks all nice and chrome on the inside, and
yeah, it's shiny.
You get to just zip around. It looks like I'll be that kid. I'll travel 8 years in the future. Fuck it, because this kid's like, I must get back home to my real time. It's like, no, stay here.
Yeah, don't you get it?
Stay in the 80s.
Stay in the 80s.
Stay in the 80s. I mean, look, you're in the middle, smack dab in the middle of Reagan's.
Yeah, but, I know, but the music.
By that point, you only got 2 more years left of Reagan. But granted, you're going into W. Senior,
HW.
But you could also, you're already ahead. You could, all your friends are older, but like,
you can make new friends.
Yeah, you can make new friends. Just be like, I was a kid that I'm like from the fucking past, and now I'm in the future, and they're like, oh man, that would be cool, man. You could make some friends.
And it's so funny because he's just like, Mom, you look older. It's like she just has different hair. Like,
yeah, she has different hair.
She doesn't look any different at all.
They just put some like basic makeup on the parents. Are like, oh no, my parents are old.
Okay,
old parents. Yeah, so we watched that.
And
that's on Disney Plus. And then you went to bed.
Yes.
And I decided to watch The Black Hole.
Yeah, how'd that go for
1979's The Black Hole, featuring action Ernest Borgnine.
Oh, okay.
And you know what? It's a trip.
Yeah,
that movie's definitely a trip. It came out. It's a generation.
I've never
my
seen
time.
it. Yeah,
it's a movie that like you've heard when you heard about it when you were like younger. Like I heard about it at least.
Mm-hmm.
But it was never it was supposed to ride on the wave of like Star Wars because it came out in '79. So like we're between New Hope and Empire,
right?
And they're hoping that, maybe this might be like Disney's version of that, which eventually Disney was just like, well, fuck it, we'll just buy Star Wars.
Right.
But they made this made this movie about a ship that encounters like this other ship just kind of hanging outside of a black hole. And they're like, hey, what's up, black hole ship? Weren't you like this other ship that was like lost like years ago? And they're like, and this guy that's on there, Maximilian Schell.
Oh, yeah.
Who, I like that name.
Yeah, it's a good name.
I like people's names who are Max, but like the full name isn't like Maxwell or
it's Maximilian.
Maximilian.
Yeah.
It sounds very like intense.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
But Maximilian Schell's like a Russian, like killed all the crew on there because they were like, yo, we want to go home. And he's like, nah, man, I want to go through this black hole. And they're like, no. And he's like, fine, you're dead. And also I got a robot army and I'm going to take your corpses and make them into cyborgs. And you're going to work on my ship.
Okay.
And then the other ship shows up and they're, these Americans, there's like a bunch of, I think just like Americans. And they're like, okay, well, it's good to find you. Maybe you should come back with us. And he's like, no, I'm going to go through this hole.
Mm-hmm.
And Anthony Perkins is there, and he's like, "Yo, that sounds dope. I'm gonna do that." And then he gets killed anyways by a robot's like a spinning blade. And then Ernest Borgnine blows up in a ship because he tries to bail, and he ends up crashing the ship anyways.
Yeah.
And sadly, he doesn't get to find his Dairy Queen.
Wait, I'm sorry. Do you want this mask?
I don't know.
Sorry. Redbubble has masks, so if you're looking for weird shit.
I like this thing. We have like these neat masks.
Yeah.
Like they're kind of
Sean hates them.
But they just don't fit well on my face because I have like a giant nose.
You do have a big nose.
Yeah, I have you have a smaller nose than me, so it kind of makes it easier.
No, I just have more cheek. My cheeks take the nose thing. The weight of the mask.
God gave me more cheek.
It's the story of my life.
But basically at the end of the movie, they end up going through. Eventually, they try to not go the black hole, but then they end up going through it anyways. And Maximilian Schell merges with his robot lieutenant, and he and then they rule hell.
Sure, why not?
But then the Americans, they go through, and apparently they go through some sort of like heaven portal.
Heaven portal.
Or something, and that's how that movie ends. It's a trip. It's interesting to watch too. And there's like a robot. There's robots. There's Roddy McDowall plays this one robot. He plays Vince.
Okay.
Vincent.
Vince the robot.
Vincent, but it stands for something. It's like virtual robot something.
Okay.
But then there's also like a robot with a southern accent. His name is Bob.
Okay.
And but these robots, for some reason, like they look like little like adorable trash cans.
No.
But they're also like extremely lethal, and they like take evasive maneuvers, and like they're shooting people. It's pretty wild.
How about this one?
What's that one? You know what? I'm okay with that one.
The Saturday night just main event logo.
Yeah, well, let's put that on my face. See how that goes. So, but yeah, that's the stuff I watch. Also, I've been watching. I've already gotten through. Is it 3 seasons?
Yeah, I think we're at the third. I finally got Sean to watch Schitt's Creek.
Schitt's Creek.
It's a great show.
It's a good show. It's actually it's actually a lot better because I wasn't sure if I was going to fully enjoy it because it's hard for me to get into like a new show.
Right.
I'm very tentative about that stuff, but I really like it. I think it's funny. There's a lot of it's a lot of those shows where you can have a lot of questions about things. You know, just wonder it, but then, you know, but everything's so sharply written that you can also like lose yourself in it. And there's just a lot of characters with a lot of quirks. One of my favorites is the townie Bob, who it's a visual thing, but he has this thing where anytime he walks into a scene, like he's got this big smile on his face, but he's also like moving his arms, like sashaying his arms away.
His arms move a lot. He's got a lot of arm action.
Like he's just kind of walking, like they're like, okay, and action. He's like, ah, you know, and he's just, but he just does it to that point.
Yeah.
I also watched this one. I think it was when you went to bed last night. There was the one where Ivan comes back because he's the one that makes
the bagel guy.
He's supposed to be the bagel guy, but he makes muffins.
That's right.
Right, and then he shows up and he brings the muffins to the diner. But he's also got a crush on Twyla.
Oh yes, I remember.
So
this.
he's like he still goes to Johnny, who's Eugene Levy.
Yeah.
We'll say Levy.
Okay.
I think it's Levy.
Okay.
So Eugene Levy's like, he's like, yeah, you should, because he wants like Eugene Levy's help, or Johnny.
Yeah.
Johnny Rose. He wants Johnny's help to help him talk to Twyla.
Yeah.
And but he doesn't, because he can't do it. And Johnny's like, it's like, no, you could do it. You could do it. But he's like, no, he really wants Johnny to talk to Twyla for him.
Right.
But Johnny's like, no, you do it yourself. So at one point, so they're sitting in this booth. And because at first he comes in with his whatever his muffins, he gives it to her like he does, and he's just like, "Here's muffins, goodbye," you know. And then he sits down with Johnny, and then she comes over to like take his order or whatever, and she just comes over, he just goes, "I am good man." That's all he says. And she's like, "What?" But just stuff like that, like just ridiculous stuff, but it's also got a lot of heart to it.
It does,
and I can appreciate that. It doesn't. It's kind of like Arrested Development, in a way, but also not as. There's no flashbacks, and there's not.
Yeah,
it's not. It doesn't. It feels like a much more scaled down production.
Yeah, well,
literally there are like 5 locations in this entire show.
Yeah,
and it's a Canadian show,
right?
So the government's paying for that shit.
Yeah, probably giving them some money.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, but money well spent, I would say.
Oh, definitely.
So and that's on Netflix. So I'm going to finish that at some point. We're going to watch through that. So yeah, there's good stuff to watch during quarantine, guys. I just gave you 3 things.
All the things to watch.
There are 3 things for you to watch. Spend your week doing that.
Yeah,
if you can. Don't be like, I have to go outside to get my hair colored.
Yeah, no, my whites are coming in quite nicely.
But don't worry about getting a haircut, or maybe you do. I don't know. Maybe some people have to get haircuts. I don't know.
Cut your own fucking hair.
Yeah, when you get out, nobody's gonna give a shit what you look like. Because by the time you end up getting back into society, anyways, your hair's just gonna end up being grown out anyways.
My lovely grays are coming in, as you can see right there.
I see them, but you don't have them as
I don't have
bad
a ton.
as you think you do.
I don't have a ton, but they come in all along my hairline. And I just bought hair dye, but I'm not going to use it until it's time to go back into the world. So I'm just going to let them get really long.
All right. Well, let's take a quick break and we'll come back with our books for this week.
Hi, everybody. My name's Hub, and I host a show called Tighten Up the Defense, a podcast that would likely benefit from a tagline. Every week, we read either a Defenders comic book from the 70s or a New Teen Titans comic from the 80s. I give a synopsis of that comic that I have handcrafted to amuse and inform, and then my good-for-many-things brother Corey comes over and we talk about what we found interesting about the comic we just read. It's a lot of fun, and we hope you'll join us for it. Anything you'd like to add, Corey?
I like cocaine from an animal's butthole. It is. So good. It is. Paradise.
Well, Corey, I don't really think that's appropriate. We're trying to do a promotion for our podcast here.
Shut up.
Okay, fair enough. Any final thoughts?
Of course.
Well, let's hear them.
I have eaten all the beaver butt. You have eaten none. And beaver's butt is pretty good.
There you have it. Tighten Up the Defense. That's Titan. You can find it wherever podcasts are found. It's probably worth mentioning. I'm the one who does the editing. Catch the wave of the future and hang 10 on it with us. Cowabunga.
All right, we're back here in Worst Collection Ever with our book for this week. It is Supreme Power, number 16, from May 2005. This comic book is 15 years old.
Happy birthday, comic book.
What's fascinating is that in 1995, me looking at a comic book that was 15 years old was like, it would be like, it's like a fucking relic.
Yeah.
But this doesn't feel like that because it feels like it's every other comic you could buy now.
Right.
That's just something, I just find that so strange.
Yes. This is a Max comic book?
Well, this is a Marvel Max comic. So basically, in the early part of the century, Marvel started this Max label, which was their answer to...
It's the sexy label.
Yeah, it was basically their Vertigo. So that allowed them to do like some more mature matters and show, occasional nudities, drop some swears.
Yep.
But they were like, hey, get ready.
There's a Shape of Water fishman.
Yeah.
Naked fish lady in here.
So there was this, this was like a maxi series or something like that. Okay. It wasn't intended to be around for that long. But there was also like Punisher was a part of that. I think Daredevil might have been at some point. I'm probably getting that wrong, but the ones that you would think,
sure,
that you would probably. I think maybe Jessica Jones.
Oh yeah, maybe. I could see
Luke Cage. Just stuff that a lot of stuff. I feel like that they drew. They drew a lot of the Marvel stuff on Netflix. They drew a lot of that from like this sort of these sort of runs. So, but this one in particular, Supreme Power, is reference to the Squadron Supreme.
Yes.
Which is a group that we've dabbled in maybe a bit here and there. Squadron Supreme is basically Marvel's answer to Justice League.
Okay. Because
you would think that would be the Avengers, but it's not. What they did was they created this group, the Squadron Supreme, put them on like an alternate Earth. And we're like, okay, you have Hyperion, who's Superman, Nighthawk, who's Batman. You had Dr. Spectrum, who's like Green Lantern, and so on, whatever. So, and they've tried all sorts of stuff with Squadron Supreme. And I guess from what I could at least glean is that's a pretty popular franchise, I guess. Something that, it seems to get a lot of play, different Marvel universes, but I don't think it's ever really been conceived in like any of the like the TV shows, or maybe it has. I don't know. Maybe it's stuff that I haven't watched, but I know in terms of movies, it's something that they haven't reached yet, which I think at some point they might.
Well, maybe we'll see.
It's an alternate universe. You could fuck around with that. It's not in the 616, but sometimes it is. Because Nighthawk in the 616 is sort of different than the Nighthawk in that Squadron universe. So, yeah. So, anyways, but this one is it's kind of like a Red Sun, not Red Sun because it has nothing to do with Russia, but the premise is that in this particular universe of version of the Squadron Supreme, Hyperion came to Earth and was found by the government.
Oh, okay.
And was raised by the government.
I get you. So it's kind of Red Sun, but in America.
Yeah, and Dr. Spectrum worked for the government, and not a lot of people know about these heroes or whatever. And this hero here, God, what was she called?
Is she just the girl we see flying in that one panel?
No, that's probably a different girl. I don't know exactly who that is.
The one wearing the I Heart New York shirt?
Maybe. No, this is I'll talk about the fish girl.
Oh, fish girl, yeah.
Oh God, I forgot what her is it Aqua something? Aquamarine?
Sure.
Maybe. I don't know. That's the name of a mermaid movie. But her name is Kingsley. But in the original version of this, it's a man. But this one here on the cover, we have what looks to be like a magazine. It says Times Week. And has a picture of, we'll call her Kingsley.
Sure.
Kingsley, the blue-skinned, blonde mohawked, shape of water fish lady.
Yep.
Holding a woman in a bikini. And it just says, monster?
Question mark.
So we start off with this guy
who's like he's a general or a former general, and he's like missing an arm. And he's hanging out in his basement, like taking apart what looks like a pocket watch.
Yeah, he's narrating why you take apart watches and stuff.
Yeah, like what it means to take apart something and blah, blah, blah. And his granddaughter comes downstairs and she's like, "Can I hang out with you?" Mom said I shouldn't ask, but...
I think this guy's name was Mark Milton, or maybe it's not, because it's the deconstruction of Mark Milton is the name of the story. But sorry, go ahead.
And like... the little girl comes downstairs and she's like, "Hey, extremely angry looking grandpa, what are you doing?" And he's like, "Let me tell you about what it's like to take something apart. But it's like basically a metaphor for like destroying people.
Yeah.
So as that's happening, then we like, is this a flashback?
Yeah, he's just thinking about something about a previous situation.
So yeah, we flash back to like him thinking about something.
Well, there was a guy, another one of these heroes named Redstone that
totally fucked up a mall. And
Hyperion was able to, since he works with the government, he came in to help with that. And there's a lot. Basically, there's
a lot of questions because I guess there's like a lot of witnesses because like some guy went into a mall and started fucking it up. So he's going to have this press conference. And instead of just offering thoughts and prayers like typical politicians do, he like answers questions. He's like, "Yeah, we don't know. All the video camera shit was ruined and nobody knows."
That's right. His name was Colonel Thomas Bridges.
Okay. He's like, "Nobody knows what happened. I don't know." And the lady's like, "Well, people saw, people flying and cars getting thrown." He's like, "I don't have any comment about that." So
it's like, yeah, but cars were flying.
She's like, "Yeah, but there's no video evidence and all the witnesses are confused."
That was like kind of, oh, by the way, Hyperion, his name is Mark Milton. That's whatever the shoot name they gave him. But this kind of reminds me of when we were watching Dark Side of the Ring this week.
Yeah.
And they had Dr. David Schultz was the subject. And he's the guy that slapped John Stossel, who probably, people that listen to this show probably remember, but a lot of younger people have no fucking idea what the hell we're talking about other than watching this thing.
Or who the fuck John Stossel was.
Or what 2020 is, is that's still on the air, I think, right?
I don't know if 2020 is, but I think 60 Minutes still is. So basically, John Stossel was a journalist with like ABC or NBC or
he was ABC. It was ABC, yeah.
ABC. And this is back in the 80s, and he was going to do an expose on how wrestling is fake.
Yeah.
And this is before people actually realized it was fake.
Yeah. And so what happens is he goes backstage at a WWF show, and this is 1984, and Dr. David Schultz, who's just a volatile man.
Yeah.
Best way to describe him.
Very big, large man with a huge temper.
And a huge perm.
Yeah, and a huge perm, and really dedicated to keeping kayfabe.
Yes, he loves that kayfabe.
He believes that we have to keep the business secret, so he's committed to kayfabe. And the story goes that Vince said, "Go talk to John Stossel," and so he did.
So you can understand how this goes. John Stossel goes,
"Hey, it's fake."
David Schultz fucking hits him in the ear.
Hits him in the head. He falls down, he gets back up, and and he hits him again on the other side.
Yeah, and then after all this is going on, WWE's like, or Vince McMahon's like, that didn't happen. Or that we didn't tell you to do that.
Oh yeah, well then they're like, well, you're too, we can't keep you around because there's also something wrong with you fought Mr. T or something.
Well, then that's where it gets confusing because there's instances where he's shown where you would think that this was going to be the incident that led to him not being in the company.
But it's not.
But what I've heard, and I've heard the story that he got into an altercation with Mr. T.
Yeah.
It's something where the way David Schultz tells us, like, he goes, I was backstage and they were telling me, the people that are running the show were like, hey, don't mess with Mr. T. He's a celebrity. This is right before like WrestleMania 1. So obviously things are very like, they're on the come up for the golden age of the 80s and stuff. And David Schultz is like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm David Schultz. And they're like, fine, you're fired. Right. And he goes to talk to Mr. T, or he goes to talk to somebody.
No, he said he went to go watch his friend do a match. So he went down to like sit in the crowd and like watch whoever it was do a match. And then like security came and like said, hey, you were fucking with Mr. T, and they put guns on him and then they threw him out.
Right. So
and you're just like, wait, hold on, what happened? And then Hulk Hogan says,
okay, now mind, okay, but let me just say this much. So that happens. That's one story.
Right.
Hulk Hogan's story said on the Steve Austin show, a show that I edited.
Yes.
Which I was surprised to see. I was like, hey.
Yeah, it made it.
I was like that meme of, have you seen the meme?
Yeah, where Leo's
like pointing.
He's like pointing.
Yeah, that's me. That's me anytime I'm watching like WWE stuff and they're like, they do that as a podcast. So I'm like, ah. But yeah, this is the Steve Austin show, and Hogan's telling the story. He's like, well, what happened was David Schultz was wrestling a match.
Yeah, he was in the ring.
He got out of the ring, went up to Mr. T and slapped him in the face. And
yeah, so Mr. T sitting ringside in front of all sorts of fucking people. And Hulk Hogan's story goes that he jumped out of the ring and attacked Mr. T ringside. But there's no other people. Nobody else has ever said that.
Nobody else has ever. I feel like
you would assume there'd be a fuck ton of people. It's LA.
It was, first of all, it happens in Los Angeles. And second of all, considering how big the WWF was getting at the time, and considering how ubiquitous wrestling was, and just how many people would be. It's not like this was like at like event, like a spot show or something small or whatever. This was at like the LA, like in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Probably in the Forum or something.
Probably in the Forum, yeah.
And this is happening, and there's nobody in that entire area that could say, yeah, I was there the night that Mr. T got slapped in the face by David Schultz, or I was there the night that David Schultz got carried away by cops because he came ringside. He walked ringside to talk to somebody.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm like, somebody would have seen that, right? I mean, it's not like there were only 10 people.
That's why I say it, because like Hulk Hogan's like, well, I'm going to tell you the story, and this is it's always like, this is a secret story. It's like, no, it's not.
But it also doesn't make any sense. Like, so that story Hogan's story makes no sense,
right?
Stossel's story makes no sense because Schultz's makes no sense because it's literally like Mr. T was backstage. They told me not to screw with him, and I said, "Oh, if you don't want me to screw with him, you got to fire me." So they did, and then they hauled me out and pointed guns at me, and then the end.
Yeah,
and I'm like, what? There's a huge piece missing here, and that's why it's like this book.
Yeah, so that's why it's like this book where people are just like, I don't know.
I saw these things. They're like, I don't know.
Like, what do you mean a mall was decimated by two superheroes and nobody knows what happens?
Oh no, witnesses were confused.
Well, they go to this dude's house. I don't really know who this guy is here. Some guy.
Oh yeah, I guess it's like the guy who must have like stopped the rampage at the mall. So they go to this dude's house, and I'm assuming he's also an athlete, but a superhero. Yeah, because they're talking about sponsorships and
Stanley Stewart is his name.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who this guy is.
I don't know exactly who this guy is in relation to superheroes or whatever.
And they talk about him hanging out with Nighthawk. So basically, they're like, "Hey, I'm going to tell you what happened. You heard about this thing going down. You crossed all these state lines. You went to this mall. You fucked up this dude who has a bunch of warrants out for his arrest. All this sort of shit." And if what we're going to ask you is that you just don't tell anybody.
Well, there's this
don't lie about it.
Yeah.
We're just don't say anything, and we won't say anything. And if you don't say anything, well, then you can keep your endorsement deals and all your shit. And your mom, who just happens to be randomly sitting outside on a chair.
You're just watching. Is she
even holding a book? She's just sitting on a chair outside.
She's sitting on a chair that doesn't even appear to have a back. It just looks like she's sitting in air.
Yeah, she's just like randomly sitting outside. Just in the middle of the yard on a chair.
Is it a hologram of his mom?
No, I don't know. She like happily, kind of creepily smiles back and like waves.
Well, there's a lot of weird expressions. Like this guy right here is one of the government
that
guys.
Guy has like a chipmunk face.
He's like oh.
Yeah, like he really does look like he's making a like in his teeth.
He's like, man, this is really exciting. Because by the way, your mom. Yeah, just like
he looks like a character Ken Marino would play.
Ken Marino as this guy in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, like this looks like a what shit was he in the Kids of the Hall or in the State?
He's in the State.
It looks like a State sketch.
Yeah,
and like that woman would be Carrie. What's her name? Carrie Stewart, and then like that'd be Ken Marino
or Carrie Kenny, whatever.
Or Carrie Kenny, and they would just be like telling this one guy like the weirdest fucking shit as government agents. And Ken Marino would be making all sorts of fucking faces.
Tom Lennon would be there with a fake mustache.
Yeah, pretty much. Tom Lennon would be that short guy right there with the mustache.
So it's basically a State sketch.
Yeah.
So we move on from that, and
there's also this like weird panel of like this guy because he's apparently been working out, and they're talking to him or whatever, and then they just draw this panel of him just like beautifully rendered like head to toe, just like wearing short shorts, just like a towel around his neck, and it's just like this man is an Adonis and he's gonna do the right thing and just not say anything so his mom can keep living in this weird house with these fake chairs. Ken Marino will leave him the fuck alone and not dip his balls in it. Then I don't know what the fuck happened here. We just like we get more narration about like why clocks and taking things apart, and then we're in a boardroom, and then there's some guy watching like a portable DVD player.
Ooh.
And it's just like I'm not sure what he sees here.
Yeah, I don't know. He's watching the conference, and there's like a picture of a guy. Look at the questions there.
Yeah, kind of.
Literally the question.
And he just turns off his portable DVD player and just looks sad, and then like that's the last we see of him. And so then we go to.
Well, we just get a bunch of these like this Bridges guy talking to his daughter, his granddaughter. Yeah, and then
like he gets a phone call, and it's because he called his buddy the journalist. Oh, that's next. So before he gets to the phone call, we're in a bar, and is this Hyperion?
Maybe.
So we're in a bar, and he has. What did he drink? There's like a list.
He drank.
I'm assuming
this apparently this is his first time drinking.
That's why I think it's Hyperion.
Drinking. I think it is Hyperion because he's talking about nothing could hurt me.
Yeah.
But I never tried drinking, so I thought I'd give that a shot.
Yeah. So
he's like, man, you had 15 beers, 9 tequila shots, and 3 margaritas, and not even a buzz.
Yeah, and so he can't get drunk, and he's like, well, I never tried, so I thought I would. He's like, oh, you never had a drink? He's like, no, there's a lot of things I haven't done. And then there's like a sexy babe in like the weirdest dress I've ever seen.
Well, it's a very like,
it's like one of those, it's like a Kelly Bundy dress, but like less of one. I just can't even explain it.
Well, he's sitting there. So he's sitting at this bar, and I'm assuming this is Hyperion. Uh-huh. I'm just going to say it's Hyperion. If I'm wrong, whatever. But I'll just say it's Hyperion sitting at the bar. And he's like, man, there's a lot of things. He's like, yeah, I never got drunk before, and there's a lot of things I haven't done before, and I mean to change that. And he's just looking over at these,
babes.
There's these babes, one wearing an Andre the Giant dress, which is kind of like, waving
it's like a one-shouldered singlet thing.
Well, it's
but
weird.
The one shoulder on it is cut so weird.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's why I said it's like the weirdest dress I've ever seen.
So yeah, he's looking at these babes, and they're standing with this dude wearing plaid pants and a turtleneck, and the guy looks like, I don't know who that guy is.
Maybe Hyperion's into everybody. I don't.
Maybe he's thinking about trying on plaid pants.
He might be. That's something else he's never done.
Maybe the plaid pants might be.
He's like,
he might try
I've
it
never
on,
worn
and he realizes that it makes his legs atrophied. So he might not, he might be in for a surprise.
Is plaid like yellow to Green Lantern?
Yes. So that's his kryptonite is plaid.
So he can never go to a punk show?
No, he can't. He cannot go to an oi show.
He can't go to a ska show.
He can't go see Lower East Side Stitches. He will not be able to enjoy that. Bridges is talking to this reporter, and he's like, look,
because apparently this reporter wrote a story about Hyperion. Like back in the day. And he's like, hey man, you wrote what you were told to write. And he's like, yeah, I've always felt bad about that. That's why I don't trust this shit. He's like, well, let me tell you, here's an address. Go here because, I'm going to give you the real story. So that's what he does. So now we're with our friend Fish Lady, blue shape of water lady. And so she's swimming. She is nude. But
she's got like,
who's this guy?
This is Dr. Spectrum.
Oh, this is Dr. Spectrum. So he's in like an air bubble. He's like basically like if you remember Justice League, where like Mera shows up to talk to Aquaman and like there's a bubble of water air around them.
Yeah.
That's like what he's in. He's in this like rainbowy bubble. It's like a soap bubble.
Is it a soap bubble?
And he like comes to talk to this fish lady who apparently speaks to him through telepathy, which I believe is what happens in Shape of Water. Side note, I've never seen Shape of Water.
Maybe
I know there's a fish man and there's fucking.
This is basically the same movie.
It's basically the exact same thing. So he's like talking to this fish lady being like, hey, remember how you saved that lady from drowning and then that guy shot you, so you like retaliated?
Because this is the first time that she's like whatever this incident was the first time she's appeared to the public.
Right, because
she's
kind
of
swimming.
like what the cover
represents. Yeah, she's swimming. Some lady like fell overboard or fell off a dock or something. So she like brings this woman back up on shore, and the guy who sees her like shoots like a harpoon thing at her, and it like hits her in the arm.
What is it? What's the point when some like, oh no, my girlfriend fell off the pier, and then somebody saves her, and he just happens to have a harpoon gun?
Maybe he was fishing. I have no idea. So he shoots her.
Fishing.
Shoots her in the arm, and I guess she retaliates against him. So I don't know. Did she sink this whole ship?
I don't know. It's hard to tell.
I don't exactly know.
Okay, now looking at this here, like it looks like they're on the dock at first, but then like she gets hurt, and then he blows up the ship, or she beats up she destroys the ship, and there's a camera that sinks, and
he's like, oh, I know that's what you were just doing and stuff, and he's just basically talking to her about like, they're gonna send people after you because they think that you're bad, and she's like, well, we don't see what she's thinking, we only get his replies. So he's like, look, you can't stay here.
You can't stay in the water in the vast ocean where you could just literally go anywhere.
You can't stay here. I can't leave you here. And I'm like, she could just swim away, dude.
So she could go to like a completely different part of the world in the ocean. That's what
or the fucking trench. You know how many trenches there are? There's so many trenches.
Trench life.
She could go live that trench life. And then she's like, hey, I've been practicing something. So she like says his name.
Yeah.
And he's like, wow, that was really great. Hard for you. You need to come live with me. I'm going to hold my breath and we're going to kiss because this is the Shape of Water. And they do.
Well, she says his name and he's like, I gotta do something for you. Well, I'm going to hold my breath and we're going to make out.
Yeah. And so they do. And then he's like, okay, time for you to come live with me. I think I figured out how to do this. So he like fills up his soap bubble like halfway with water. So she can stay. I mean, what is he going to do? Is he going to like do like splash and put her in the fucking tub?
Yeah, he's got a tub.
I mean, like, what are you going to do with her? Anyway, so he like
he's got an outdoor pool. Yeah, like we do, just above ground pool. Just
you mean like one that you could take down and throw under the deck, like we've done.
Yeah, he's got one of those.
Yeah. So he like
you can take it to a car wash and just have it on all the time.
It's like one of those sprinklers that just goes back and forth.
Yeah, just stand here. Yeah,
just in the grass.
You can look. You could only exist when my lawn is being watered. That's the only time you can live.
And sorry, we're under water restrictions, so it's every third day.
Yeah, that's right. So
sorry about that.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
So
he like is encased in this bubble, and she's like at the bottom of it, and he takes off out of the water, and there's like a plane flying overhead.
The plane flying overhead, and at the same time while this is happening, another woman who I don't know who this is. I'm going to say this might be Power Princess, who's supposed to be like the Wonder Woman version. Yeah. And she's just flying. This woman is just flying through the air wearing jeans and an I Love New York shirt.
Yeah, and it's like the guys flying the plane are like, "Hey, did you see that?" Because they see Hyperion
No, they see Dr. Spectrum.
Dr. Spectrum, and they're like, "Did you see that?" And the guy's like, "Nope." He's like, "And you know what? If you're smart, you don't see that either." And that's when he's referring to this woman. And you just see her flying. And then
Is this the general? Is this the...
I don't know who that is.
Is this the general or the... Or no, the general is outside of the... He's observing this reporter. The reporter goes to talk to Hyperion's parents.
Yes. And then that's when we see like pieces of the clock.
His surrogate parents. And yeah. So, and that's basically how this ends. Because something's about to happen because he's not human.
Shit's going down.
Shit is about to go down.
Yeah.
In Supreme Power, number 16 from May 2005. Do you want to continue reading the Supreme Power?
Probably not.
Yeah.
I would.
Is this another one? Yeah, there's better things for me to pay. Again,
better things for me to pay attention to.
You can throw as many of your Squadron Supremes at me. I don't know if I'll ever catch on. Yeah. With me at least. Not that I don't think Hyperion. Like I think Hyperion looks cool. Like when he's actually dressed like when he's like superhero. Dr. Spectrum, not a bad analogy for Green Lantern, but everything else you can keep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So meh. So yeah, well that's it for this week's show. Thank you for listening, folks. Stay indoors, stay safe, and please find us on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Angry Hero Sean.
And I'm at Jen Stansfield on Twitter and Instagram. You can find the show on Facebook, Worst Collection Ever.
Oh, go ahead. Keep talking.
And email the show, worstcollectionever@gmail.com.
We actually did get an email.
Oh, we did?
Because I don't check my emails that often for the show.
I was going to say, I posted just today some like really weird...
What about Batman fighting a bear?
Yeah, but it was like kid Batman because he had been like changed into a 10-year-old and he like kicks a bear in the nuts. And I was just like, this is great. And I found it on Twitter and I tagged.
Batman has nerds.
He has little nerds. So, that's the kind of great content you can expect.
This comes from, I'm just going to say, I believe this character, this fellow has contacted us before. Maybe we've read stuff from before. I'm not sure if he's on Twitter or not. But his name is Brian.
Hi, Brian.
And he emailed us at the end of January, actually.
A bajillion years ago.
Yeah, remember January?
Hey, remember January?
I'll just read this email. I've been listening to your show since hearing Sean on Comedy Film Nerds.
Nerds.
40 years ago. With two preschoolers in the house, I never get to watch new movies, so I haven't listened to them in a while. I noticed Chris and Graham stopped their show. That's right, they did. Chris and Graham did stop Comedy Film Nerds.
Yeah.
They ended it back in December after they were doing the show.
Oh, like over 10 years, yeah.
Like I remember listening to the first episodes on the web. Because I didn't have the means.
That's right.
At least I had an iPod Touch, but I didn't have it set up to do podcasts, so I had to listen to it on the laptop.
Right.
At work when I was working at working like a temp job or something.
Yeah.
That was a nice long run, and it was. But do support Chris and Graham. They're doing their separate stuff. So if you can check them out, good friends of the show. Anyways, it's always fun to hear your podcast. I like hearing you two chatting about what you did that week and your opinions about various nerdy shit, as well as your hilarious recaps of that week's book. Having not watched wrestling since the 1980s, I'm a little lost on that front, but I appreciate that you both dig it. I more so than you, but yeah.
I married into the fandom.
You married into wrestling. And I think I remember this fellow, because he mentions here, speaking of wrestling a couple years ago, I sent you a picture of Scott Steiner's Shoney's.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I remember this.
Which I do appreciate. Scott Steiner, a Shoney's licensed franchisee.
Yep.
I think it's Ackworth, Georgia or something. But I keep forgetting to snap a pic of Rick Steiner's realtor signs.
Oh, God.
Because
is it just him wearing that chainmail thing?
No, that's Rick. Rick's his brother. He's the dog-faced gremlin. He's the one with the wrestling gear hat.
Nope. No. Not in there. Sorry. I have no recollection of this.
Too bad I don't have videos of Lex Luger and other wrestlers hangers on R.I.P. Miss Elizabeth shopping at the liquor store where I worked years ago.
Oh shit,
they were a complete shit show every time. Yeah,
I can imagine.
I could imagine. That's one of those things where.
Oh my god, I'm surprised that place was still standing after they left.
I'm about to start reading my 5-year-old issues from my terrible comic book collection.
Yay!
Probably starting with the original Power Pack. Good place to start.
Nice.
I had a flood in my basement a year ago, and a lot of my old comics were damaged. But hell, who cares?
Well, that is the attitude we take here on Words Collection.
I like the cut of your jib, Brian.
Like, oh man, has it been water damaged? Is it barely staying together? That is a comic we're gonna read.
Yeah, no, it's like, I don't have the cover anymore, but it looks good. It's brown.
Oh, the minute I saw, anytime I go to look for new comics, new in quotations, new to me, you got to find that box where all the tops are yellow. Because that's the box you want. You don't want the shiny new box because that's new shit. You want the ones where everything is yellow because they're so old.
Yeah.
That is the box you go to.
If those tops are brown, go to town.
Pretty much. I have bought water damaged comics. I'm sure we still have some. Remember that Nightwing comic that smelled?
I don't think we have it anymore.
No, we got rid of it because it came in a bag, and then the minute I took it, I was like, ew, it smells. We read it and got rid of it.
So, yeah, he says, so he's going to read his kids these issues.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Because that's what he says. I'll read my 5-year-old issues from my terrible comic book collection.
Oh, that's going to be great.
They're only, who the hell, but hell, who cares? They're only worth the enjoyment I'll get to see on my young boys' faces anyway.
Aww.
Love the show, Brian from Atlanta.
Oh, that's awesome. I think they're going to enjoy that.
That's the cut. That's what I like.
Exactly.
Also, please rate, review, subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and anywhere you get the show. And tell your friends and give us a rating. Give us 5 stars or give us the best rating. And keep in touch with us. We'll get another video up soon. All right, folks. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Bye.